You're here because you ride motorcycles, or you're looking to buy one and you're just kind of consuming all the motorcycle content you can up until the point you actually get one to fix that craving in the meantime. But for the most part, we all know whether you currently ride or you don't, you've got to maintain your motorcycle. And there's more to maintaining it besides just doing your regular oil change and replacing your tires when they're bald. Really quickly, we're gonna go through 7 common general maintenances that most people overlook that are actually really important. Now, before we continue, hit that subscribe button if you're new here for more motorcycle content, and check out the description below for more ways to support the channel. Now let's get right into it. While I go through the 7 things on this list, I do want to relate them to personal experiences from when I was a mechanic at Harley Davidson, and in the future, I very much plan on making a video of things that go behind closed dealership doors in the back of the shop that most customers are not aware of that they should be. I am not going to touch up on it on this video, but do subscribe for that video in the future. But with that said, from Harley Davidson experiences, when you're getting your routine mileage service, whether it's your 5,000, 10,000, 15, 20, and so on, it's more than just an oil change. At least that's what it's supposed to be. And one of the things on that list that not every tech does due to saving time, and it's something that can easily be done at home, but it goes a long way, and that's general lubrication. Whether it's your lever pivots, the pivots on your kickstand and central stand, the shaft on your shifter that connects to the shifter linkage, and even hinges on your saddlebag, your foot pegs, all these things should be regularly maintained with just a quick spray of some lube to kind of prevent rust and smooth operations. And beyond just that, even lubing your throttle cables and clutch cable, well, throttle if you don't have a throttle by wire, of course. But when you do your routine service, just a few drops of lube into your throttle cables to prevent them from getting gritty or binding up. And I'll show you what I use. No, this is no paid advertisement. This is just what I used when I was a mechanic, and I still do. I bought it off of Amazon. This is what it is. I'll put a more close-up picture. It's not that expensive, but it's a really good lubricant, and I use it mainly just for throttle cables and the clutch cable. I recommend y'all to use it. I think I paid like $6 for it, and just a few drops goes a long way. I've had it for quite a while, and as you can see, I'm not even halfway through with it. Now with the bagger Harleys, I remember this was a common problem I came across, and not every tech knew this little trick, so I'm gonna tell y'all if y'all do have a bagger Harley. But if you know that media door where you have the USB cable to plug up your phone on the touring bikes, well, that media door, after, when you press it to open, sometimes it stops working. When you press it, it won't close all the way. And a lot of times the dealers will just replace it. And granted, yes, for the dealer, this is good. They get some labor, they sell a part. But in reality, if you just spray where what's it called? The mechanism that opens and closes the doors. So I can't remember the terminology right now. But if you just putting a little bit of lube, many times that has solved the issue with it not wanting to shut all the way, and saves, the customer money. Why do work that doesn't need to be done, I don't even understand why some techs didn't do it. I know I had stressed it to my apprentice. My master tech was the one who stressed it to me. The way my master tech told it to me was, they're paying X amount of dollars an hour for a routine service. They don't really see the oil change done. They don't really feel a difference. But if they get their bike back and the throttle works smoother, their saddlebags hinges aren't as squeaky, or their foot pegs move easier. Little things like that kind of feels like they got their money's worth, and it only takes a few seconds. But that's something you can do from home too. Next things you should be checking for is your brake pads. Now that's something at home you can do a really quick and easy check to make sure the life of them, how much you have left. I'll tell you, replacing brake pads is a whole lot cheaper than waiting for them to get on that metal-to-metal contact and be scraping up on your disc and having to replace your disc. And it just also takes a few seconds to check when you do a quick walk around every now and then on your bike. New brake pads are about 10 to 12 millimeters in thickness, and they should be replaced once they get down to 1.5 to 3 millimeters, or when the wear indicators are gone. And now this is more, it's really much more of a safety issue more than anything. You gotta remember, we're on 2 wheels here, and those brakes are pretty much a majority of what's keeping you safe in emergency situations and helping you react or stop in time. And you're gonna want them to be at their most ideal or functioning properly in the event of you actually needing to use them in a dire situation. Now, while we're on the topic of brakes, the third thing on this list is brake fluid. I cannot stress enough how people do not flush their brake fluid often enough. Every single bike that came into the shop, I would do a quick test for checking the water level, if there's got too much water in the brake system. And more times than not, it needed a brake flush. A lot of people, maybe they don't understand the importance of it, or like they think currently their brakes work fine. But you've got to think, the more water that gets into your brake system, the brake lines, your brakes are not going to work. And you don't want for it to get to a moment where you have that dreadful, where you pull the brake and you got no resistance and it goes from lever to handle right away. That's definitely not a situation you want to be in. It should be done every 2 years, which isn't all that bad when you go regarding cost, but it definitely does keep you safe. And another thing that you should be on top of is checking your oil level. Now, granted, it should be done when the bike is hot to get a proper oil level reading, but most of us know that newer bikes don't burn oil as much as older bikes do. Maintaining or checking your oil level pretty frequently helps you get a feel of the conditions your bike is in. If you start noticing that it's eating oil faster than normal, that could be an early sign that something is wrong and help you get on top of it before it turns into a bigger issue. So it's like a small telltale sign that something could be creeping up in the near future. While we're on the topic of checking things, one thing that I can also not stress enough is checking your tire pressure. I'll tell you, almost every bike that came into the shop had low tire pressure. Not every single bike, but just about. And it never ceased to amaze me of, we have so many gas stations that offer free, air hoses, and it takes also, again, nothing but like a minute or 2 of your time to be on top of it if you don't have an air compressor at home and whatnot, or just swing by your local, dealership and just ask if they have, a few minutes to quickly, check your air pressure. Besides maintaining the proper PSI on your tires leads them to have a longer lifespan, in which in the end saves you more money from having to replace your tires as frequently, it's also a part of keeping your bike safe on the road and keeping you safe. Low PSI has effect on the bike with its steering and handling being worse, its acceleration not being as good, and in certain road conditions makes it much more dangerous to ride. And besides all that, it affects your braking and it increases the time it takes you to stop, your braking distance. So staying on top of your tires not only saves you money, but it keeps you safe. I highly suggest after you finish watching this video and you subscribe to my channel to kind of keep up to date with my content, go and take a peek at your tires and see what's going on. Check your brakes, check your oil, and while we're on the topic of checking, does your bike have a chain drive? Now this goes if you have chain drive or belt drive, but maintaining it has a big effect on saving you money in the long run and ensuring smoother throttle transitions when you're out riding. Now with chains, regularly lubing them, making sure checking for if it needs adjustment, and same goes for belts too, checking if it needs adjustment so it doesn't have too much slack. It ensures its longevity. Chains are replaced between every 20 to 30,000 miles. And if you maintain it well, you're most likely not having to do that sooner than that. Over time, as you ride and in different road conditions and weather, dirt and grime builds up, and this is what causes it to wear faster. It is suggested to clean your chain about every 600 miles. Your manual for your specific bike should give you a more specific number, but 600 tends to be the average, which is a little bit less frequently than doing a routine maintenance service, but it's something that also doesn't take that much time that you can do in your garage. And when you're checking for your bike or checking on your chain, you're checking for if you have any rust spots, any bad rollers, and that's a good time to check for slack. Or even just checking to see if any plates are beginning to separate. Now, if you're checking your belt, you're more looking for any stray cords, missing teeth, for it to begin to cracking up or, drying up. A loose chain and loose belt, it really kind of reduces the amount of power that's transferred from the engine to the rear wheel, which affects the bike's top speed, how you control the bike, and even acceleration. Now, the last thing on this list is the mighty air filter. It should be checked and cleaned every single service. Granted, some air filters are not cleanable. Most of Harley OEMs are, one-time use. Once they get dirty, you just replace it. Unless you get an aftermarket one like I have from R&S. Those can be cleaned with an air filter cleaner and then sprayed with an oil to keep it in tip-top shape. Sometimes when people would bring their bikes in for a routine oils change, they would just want the oil changed and nothing else in order to save money. But we would do still a look around on the bike just so the customer was aware if there was anything seriously going wrong with it. And we would peep at the air filter, and a lot of times the air filter would be so dirty, but they wouldn't want to replace it, or if they had a cleanable one, they wouldn't want us to clean it, which granted, if you have a cleanable one, you could do that at home. But I don't think they always believed us when we said like, hey, you gotta replace your air filter, it's dirty. But a dirty air filter causes the amount of air getting into the engine not be as much, and this can cause so many issues, and one of them being like overheating. You don't want your engine to start overheating, because once it starts overheating, other internal parts can start getting issues, and then a minor problem that once was becomes a much bigger problem due to parts inside deforming due to the excessive heat. And also, when you're not getting enough air into the engine, you're reducing the amount of power it could potentially produce. And most of us riding our bikes, we don't want our bikes to be weaker than, they're capable of. Now, with all that said, I'm about to be taking my bike to the shop to get my tires replaced, so that's kind of what made me want to make this video. I hope y'all out there are maintaining your bike and keeping it good, because you keeping your bike happy keeps you happy, because it keeps you on the road longer. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. I do appreciate y'all watching this video. I really hope y'all have a great day. Y'all stay safe riding, and most of all, don't forget to love those around you. Hey! While I still have your attention, if you go to your garage right now to take a peep on your bike and just do a quick overall look on it, make sure you check your blinker fluid. You don't want that to be running low. Now, if you want any recommendations on what I use for my blinker fluid, let me know in the comments and I will give you all the deets on what I think is the best product to use. But make sure you stay on top of your blinker fluid. You don't want that running low.